Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Millionth podcast. My name is James. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Henry and special guest for the Bond series, Tom. And today we are talking about Michael Bay's The Rock. And just to remind everyone, this is a film that I'd only seen once before. Like, I can't even remember when. And this is the first time Tom and Henry watched it.
Yeah,
So
you neglected to mention this was made by Michael Bay to me before I watched
yeah,
it.
well, whatever. So
In fact, it could have
I just want to throw it out there to you two now. What did you think of The Rock? First impressions.
like if Sean Connery wasn't in this film, I would have it like in the league of like Batman Forever, like because of
Yeah,
like everything else about it.
and
Everything else wasn't that bad. Like, I liked it a lot because it felt almost like a proper send off for Sean Connery,
that's true.
being
Kind
Bond.
of,
But
but
and
like
I loved the comedy and like the action scenes, especially like the car chase through like
you
San Francisco.
joking.
That was funny, man. That was
I
good.
hated
And
like
then
the cameraman cannot hold
Oh, it's
still.
so cringe. It's so
It's
like
so
over the top, man.
bad.
You know when Nicolas
it's
Cage is
funny
at
though.
the bottom and he's like standing, he gets up out of his car and he's like the camera's going around him. So funny, man. He's like, because obviously Nicolas Cage is like kind of notorious for being like one of the worst actors of all time. And but this was in a period of his career before everyone sort of cottoned onto that, so he was still getting serious roles, kind of.
Hmm.
And by the way, if anyone, if I mean, I'm not going to go into it today, but Nicolas Cage's like life makes for fascinating reading. But
I
anyway,
can imagine.
yeah. Basically, we only watched this film on the strength of my kind of vague recollection that someone told me that you can look at this film through the eyes of it being an unofficial Bond film, and this guy is also a subscriber to the codename theory. And
Oh well,
obviously,
yeah, he can't be very smart then, can he?
well, actually, that was actually my mate Harry. He's the guy I did the Bond marathon with. So
Oh,
he
fair
that
play.
was his, and he's very much a subscriber to the codename theory, and it's only with that theory that The Rock can be considered an unofficial Bond film.
No, the codename theory is literally just like a way of saying I'm retarded, basically.
It's a no, I don't agree with that. I think I
Yeah,
There's
it
respect
nothing.
holds
people who
no
try and do that. The
water.
truth is people trying to rationalize Bond a bit, which is fine. I don't personally believe in the codename theory, but I'm not against people
Nah,
who
trying
like.
trying to rationalize Bond is like I
Mm,
don't know. It's like
it's a
trying to
lost
like
cause. Yeah,
talk about Marvel as if it's realistic, you know.
yeah. But anyway, I think Henry, you've pretty much nailed it because I mean, Sean Connery literally makes this film, right?
He really does, man. Like it's funny because I started watching this. And I had to stop like at one point. I just turned it off and I was like, I'm coming back to this tomorrow.
But you know what's
And
funny? You told me that yesterday, and you like the
I
moment that
stopped
you
at
stop
the
watching is
exact
like
bit.
literally the very next scene they introduce Sean
Yeah,
Connery.
yeah, and then I was like that's the exact frame he appears on the screen is when this
Yeah,
goes from like a 2 to like a 7, maybe.
yeah, yeah. No, this
It
is very
was.
much for me. I think Tom definitely saw this film the same way I did. It's a solid 7 out of 10 entertainment. It's like somewhat comedy as well. There's a lot of like it doesn't take itself too seriously, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's just pure entertainment. You have a fun time watching it, right?
Yeah, and like I think they did. I really like some of the things they went with. Like, they didn't. I mean, it was impossible. They didn't try to make Sean Connery look young or anything like they do with Roger Moore. But like,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
they. I also like how they paired like the lab rat as they called him with like the really hardened SAS like
Yeah,
professional. I like how he references like I was trained by the best British intelligence. It's really
exactly.
great.
Yeah, it's the toughest man on the planet with like this guy who like never ventures
Yeah,
outside basically.
And there's so much like I love when there's action, when there's like little comedy as well, like little parts that you see, like the tram driver, the guy who's stuck in the lift with Sean Connery, the guy
yeah,
who's like
No, man, no.
the guy whose bike gets stolen. The one
yeah.
it's
No, the
like
guy
it's
whose bike gets
so
stolen was funny, but like the hairdresser and like the tram driver was just like This is too much, man.
It's funny, like how can you say that after seeing all those Roger Moore films with like
Yeah, but
double?
this is the thing. This is the thing that I learned to appreciate about Bond films, because I thought, all right, Bond films sometimes over the top, and I was like, after watching this, it just shows how much restraint Bond films have, like really, in a lot of ways. Um, this is just like, I don't know. If you actually had, if they didn't credit Michael Bay in this film, I would have probably been able to deduct it from the amount of stuff
Oh
that
yeah,
should not explode that does, like constantly. It's
yeah.
like unreal, man.
No, I mean, there's obviously so many things that don't really make sense if you just kind of pay 1%, no, more than 1% attention. But I mean, some of it's really like
Like
ridiculous.
I would actually
But it
feel
doesn't
if
matter because it's Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery, who,
yeah,
by the way, he's in great shape. Like what I think he was. I'm not sure how old he was in this. I should actually know that. I'm going to look that up while you talk.
No,
man.
don't look that up because that's one of my questions.
Oh, all right.
Honestly though, like for me, look, I understand the way that this film is, right? But I don't have to like, sing its praises because of it. Because like I feel that there's good stuff in it, but I feel if I watch this too many times, I might actually like become like, like a vegetable man.
Oh no, this is a film you just like I said. I think I really can't remember when I watched this. It must have been anywhere between the age of 15 and 18, I would say. And I really remembered nothing about it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I remembered just a little. All I remembered was like it was good, like not great, but it was just like I felt good after watching it, and so that's when you were telling me, Henry, like you were watching it and then you didn't like the beginning. I was like, well, yeah, I don't remember the beginning
Man,
at all.
I
So I'm kind of like
hated the
this,
beginning.
and I think it's fair to say this film just gets better as it goes along, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
the
like the
beginning. The
beginning is
beginning
like
was very
basically a
good.
massive ad for the American military, and I'm just like, I could not give less of a fuck, man.
It was very cringe, and it was very. It
It's the
was
fact that
very. It was very weak beginning, but I love how like slimy they portrayed the flipping FBI director or whatever. It was
Yeah.
like
yeah, but at
tearing
the
up
end
the
of the day,
agreement.
like the
Oh,
thing
that
that
was great. That was great. And then when Sean Connery like gets the because he it's so like predictable, but he picks up the
yeah,
coin right, and then smashes through the window, the two-way mirror, and he goes the one-way mirror, sorry, and he goes, I should have known it was you, you piece of shit. It's so good. I've
yeah,
never seen a film where Sean Connery's been allowed to swear, and he's so good
yeah,
at it. He's so
yeah.
good at swearing,
This
man.
is yeah, him with his long hair reminds me of like what he could have looked like if they allowed him if he ended up doing Gandalf. Um,
Oh, was that a thing at one point?
that was the thing. It's just
Wow.
at least to my knowledge, I mean, he probably would have like hated
Yeah,
with
yeah, that
grief.
makes sense.
uh,
I loved
It
his.
rem-
I loved the trim they gave him as well because
yeah,
with Sean Connery, obviously, is quite infamous about his hairpiece and everything, right? And in Never Say Never Again, his hairpiece was like a little bit off, wasn't it? Um,
just a little.
whereas in this, they gave him like a really like believable trim. It was really cool. He looks
it was
he
so
looks like
believable. I
such
actually
a badass man. It's
You
great.
know, it was actually so believable that I had forgotten that he had gone bald,
Oh, there you go.
gone like hair loss and that, and I was like, I've only just remembered that now.
Although I do want to the really funny bit. I mean, it's the film is so obvious. It doesn't pretend it's anything it's not, right? Which I always I kind of I tend to appreciate that with films.
Oh man,
Um, and there's like the actual scene where he receives the haircut, and it's like the most obvious fake backdrop I've ever
Yeah,
seen, man.
yeah.
Like the clouds are literally not moving. It's like a Bob Ross painting in the background, man. It's so like obvious, man. Like, but it doesn't really matter as well. So you're focused on Sean Connery getting his hair cut, man.
yeah,
Love it. Um, well, I mean, Tom, you touched on the car chase,
no.
which Henry you didn't like it.
The editing, man, was like it was like someone was trying to make you ill, man. It was like I get if you want to use a couple shots where like the camera's shaking and you can fucking barely make out who's actually driving, but like
Yeah.
They did that every single shot. It'll be like Sean Connery literally goes on the phone and it's still shaking. He's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that
it's
was
like overused to
as
death.
Henry.
as
Which car chase was better, this one or the one at the end of Saw?
That's really yeah. That is reminiscent of this. But the difference is that Michael Bay clearly had a budget for this film and saw there to make do. The Saw
Yeah,
one
that's
was
like
better.
shake the
Honestly.
car, man.
The
Station.
Saw one was better. I'll just put it out there.
Yeah, fair enough. What I liked about the this car chase was it's just something which like completely threw me off because there's a bit where there's a telegraph pole, right, which falls down and it's so dramatic and it's just like, well, big deal. It's just like a wooden stick, right? It's like
Yeah.
falls down, and then it just causes this insane like fucking chaos, like all these cars like explode and like flip
Yeah.
over it and shit. It's like so ridiculous, but it's so funny. And what about the effect when the tram like blows up and like flies for
Yeah.
a bit, like fucking
Yeah.
literally
Yeah, like
levitates
it
who
went
and then
thought of
falls?
straight
that?
up.
Like,
It's like
Obviously,
Darth
Michael.
Vader's around the
But
corner.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
literally.
I think it I think it was like I don't know, that bit stuck out a bit, but I think
Just a
Quantum of
little bit.
as people who've seen Quantum of Solace, I don't think it's nearly as bad as that. Nothing can be as in terms of that cutting, which is just like too zoomed up and like
Yeah, but they had
disorientated.
an excuse because Jason Bourne came out beforehand. You know.
Yeah, but they still did it like terribly, and I didn't really suffer from the editing at all.
I don't really remember that. We'll have to talk about that when we do Quantum of Solace, but yeah, I don't know. I
First
mean,
time watching Quantum of Solace was mind-boggling. Like, I could,
really.
yeah,
Oh,
it
that's
was
going to be
just
interesting.
too.
Well, we'll talk about it when we get there. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
The thing is, I feel is you're saying that, oh yeah, this film doesn't take itself seriously. I think it's us not taking it seriously. I genuinely think if in American theaters they really thought this was like, the shit,
yeah,
It's like when Willard White says, oh, tell him he's fired, it's the difference between how we see it versus how they see it.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's a very American film, obviously. But what is quite funny about it is, yeah, okay, that's true. Like, obviously, there is like the typical American lack of self-awareness.
Yes,
But,
especially with the actual like villain, really, if you
but
think about it.
okay, we'll talk about the villain in a moment. But they still had a few moments where you're like, they had that kind of like British pride in it, and I don't. Maybe that was just a solo effort from Sean Connery, like
There
him
was a
demanding.
really confusing bit as well though. Like
The bit where he fights like the Irish guys, like
yeah, he's
Yes,
like, you
is
English
that what you're
prick, and
thinking of as
he's
well?
like the most like
yeah,
not English person you've ever seen.
I'm
exactly.
so glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because first of all, Sean Connery's obviously
I
Scottish.
thought he was gonna say like some punchline at the end. He's like, I'm Scottish.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
bet
me
he
too.
wanted to, man. But it would have been something really like, you know, out of pocket. You know, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
he should have
what would
just
he have
like
said? He would have
fucking
made like
pulled
some
out
like,
everything on him. But
yeah, because he says, "Oh, you English prick! Did I mention my dad's Irish?" You know, and then he does, and I was waiting. But it's kind of one of those things. I think that might have been something.
Expectation subversion.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, you just put your own line in there, and you can secretly like chuckle to yourself, sort of thing. Do you know what I
don't know.
mean?
Yeah,
A
it's like
little bit.
I guess it might be a bit like, oh, we know what C stands for then.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. Yeah, exactly. Good analogy. Let's talk about the villain a little bit, played
Yeah,
by
because
Ed
like
Harris. I
the
do want to
general
say
plot,
the
right? For those who haven't
sorry.
seen, like the crutch of the plot. That
Mhm.
makes sense. The crux of the plot.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, I do want to point out the cast for this film is amazing.
Yeah. Did you notice anyone from Breaking Bad, James? There was
Ah,
there was a random Marine, played by Raymond Cruz, who wasn't credited, and he's the guy who plays Tuco.
no way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's insane. That's insane. I didn't spot that one. There were a whole bunch. I mean, obviously you got Sean Connery and Nick Cage, but Ed Harris, he's also I
Yeah.
recognized him from The Truman Show. He's an Oscar winner. You've got the guy called David Morse. He plays Major Tom Baxter. He's like the big sort of blonde guy, and he's in The Green Mile. He's in like loads of random stuff as well. You've got. Did you recognize Michael Bain? He was in this film. He was also in. Let me get this right. He was in Terminator. He played Kyle Reese, and He was also the he was in Aliens. He was in Aliens. He was one of the one of the like Marine guys in Aliens as well. Great. I love seeing him pop up in like these sort of military roles, man. He's so good.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, he dies quite quick in the film, but still.
Yeah. It's the fact that the villain essentially is like
Yeah.
former like insanely good former commander in the U.S. military. And he takes over Alcatraz with a bunch of
Mhm.
like tourists as hostages,
Hmm.
and has like this um, plot device chemical that will like kill everyone in San Francisco, which
Yeah.
we've established with Max Zorin wasn't even that bad of an idea to start with, and like unloaded on missiles, and he's like, oh yeah, if you his demand is okay, if you can compensate the families of people who you've literally not like
Yeah.
who you killed in battle, like by sending them to war, and set us a little bit extra, like. Then we won't like destroy San Francisco. Like that's not even like much of a bad demand. It's not like
It's
saying, "Oh,
not.
yeah,
No, it's
just set
not.
Yeah,
us like the
he
whole
but
U.S. economy."
that's what makes him really interesting villain. I think his whole like motivation and everything. I know it's not like the most serious film, but I actually really quite enjoyed his watching his inner conflict. And it's not something you ever see in a book because that is quite realistic. This guy basically gets cold feet when it comes to pushing the red button.
Yeah,
And then you get a mutiny happening later on, and it's like, wow, this it's something you just never really see in films, and they could kind of get away with it in The Rock because it's not so it's not so heavy of a film, right? So like they actually, I'm very impressed that because I forgot that happened, so I was expecting there'd be some kind of boss battle with like Sean Connery versus the
Me
the
too. Me
general.
too. I thought there'd
But
be
then it
like some
didn't turn out that
final
way, and
battle.
the way it did turn out was like, oh, that's pretty cool, actually, and the fact that the general is like kind of he's high, he's got all these mercenaries with him, and then they're actually more psychotic than him, effectively. He kind of they're more committed than he is, effectively, right? He never. It's funny because he's so reluctant to actually kill anyone, even with Sean Connery when he actually captures Mason and Goodspeed at the end. He doesn't execute them, which is what you'd expect he would do, and he just puts them in a holding cell. So this
Hmm.
guy is kind of not a pussy, but he does get cold feet. He does actually really believe in his cause, basically, right?
yeah. I did really like the bit where they put them back in the Alcatraz cells because like you immediately knew what Sean was gonna do, and like Nick Cage is like on the floor below him, like thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna die here" and all this shit. It was like Sean just gets out in like 20 seconds, then he like pops down. He's like, "How did you do that?" And he's like, "Trade secrets,"
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
something along those lines. He says trade secrets.
he
Or,
does. Yeah, trade
yeah.
secret. Yeah. It's great. I like. It's a funny route they went down, making Sean Connery into this his character into this like, escapist basically. Which is interesting. Unfortunately, you never really see that demonstrated. But if you are into that sort of thing, I'd recommend you watch Escape Plan with Sylvester Stallone. He plays a character like that. It's quite a good film. And anyway, yeah, with Ed Harris's character, the general, I think it's just really interesting to see him you know, like the disappointment when he's just honest about it. He's just like, well, we were bluffing, and they called our bluff, so it's over.
Yeah,
And
and
then
the
they're
other guy's
going,
like, "Who
and
said
then
we
the
were
other guys are
bluffing?"
like, who was bluffing? Do you know what I mean? Like, let's fucking do it.
That's
And
the
I'm
thing.
like,
It's the
yeah,
thing that I hated though, because it's like, I mean, that bit itself is good. It's just the fact that like we're supposed to be rooting for basically the U.S. government here because it's their plan to
Yeah.
not pay
no,
the
I don't think so.
families. Like that doesn't make sense. Like just
I
send
think you're
them the
rooting
money.
for me. I mean, you're not really rooting for anyone in a way. I mean, basically just Sean Connery. I love his arc as well, actually, because he goes from just this like. I mean, I think his character's really interesting. I mean, just the fact that his arc goes from just being like, yeah, well, I just don't care. I want to, get on
Yeah,
with my
well,
life because I've been incarcerated illegally for 30 years, and then he kind of
oh,
goes, and he changes his mind at the end, and then he's like, well, I can't swim it anyway, fuck it, it's
hmm,
it's quite funny. That's what, like, he's
Yeah.
like, actually,
yeah.
yeah,
That's the
I'll
thing though.
just
Like,
finish
if
this.
genuinely, if it wasn't for him, I would fucking like I wouldn't even know what to say about
Well,
it.
we would never have watched it in the first place, right? There are probably
Exactly.
loads of films like this that just aren't worth watching, but because it's Sean Connery, kind of being like an old Bond, um, it makes it an enjoyable film.
Yeah,
I'm glad that someone actually came up with this idea. Whoever wrote the screenplay must have been like, yeah, let me just. No one's gonna really fund this film, but let me just write it anyway. And then it just got picked up by
yeah. Apparently, like
studio and Michael
every
Bay, and you
actor
just
ever.
had actually like quite an interesting film on your hands.
You could say like this is also a bit Blondian in the fact that they have Sean Connery just making idiots of the Americans all the time when they try
Exactly.
to. It's
True.
so good and funny at the same time. I love when he like has the guy suspended from the hotel like
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
balcony.
He hates everyone, and of course he would as well. Like I think they get you really on side with him, where with his character, where you're just like, yeah, man, these guys really screwed him hard, man. But but then the actual reason for that is understandable because they go on to like you
Yeah.
know disclose why they actually tried to make why he's there in the first place.
Yeah, he has
And
like every dirt on all conspiracy
yeah, and I
ever. Like, oh
love
yeah,
the
by the way, guys,
setup, and it's all like basically a big setup for the final line in the film,
the
which is
final line of the
just
film was actually funny.
it
Like
was brilliant.
I
It was
was
so
really wondering
funny, man.
what he put there, and it was like it was like the entire database of like the U.S. national secrets. Man, it's like, hey, honey, you want to know who killed JFK?
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
what a way to end a
He's
film,
talking
right?
about like alien
It's
landings
great.
and stuff.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I mean, the just to finish on the gem, I want to say one more thing about him. The fact that there was quite an interesting scene as well because it's kind of the first time you see actually what he's actually about is when all the Marines, well, nearly all of them go up into their room and then they've got the higher ground and stuff,
Hmm.
and he like I think it's at this point he knew he'd fucked up because like they
Yeah,
all
'cause
just like
there's a misunderstanding. Someone knocks something over, and they'll start shooting each other.
yeah, but it's
Oh,
just
this is the
really
thing I
because
wanted to point
he's just
out.
like he didn't want that to happen because he was effectively playing chicken with Michael Baine's character, right? So they were like, no, you're all soldiers. Like, what are you doing? Um, and and they're all like the tension is actually really good, and
Yeah,
then obviously they all start like a bloodbath ensues, and then he's there and he's saying ceasefire, ceasefire. No one's listening to him. They're just like bloodthirsty, and it's like whoa, this is
yeah.
quite interesting to watch
The
actually.
thing is though, and I think this is a massive like weakness of the film, is the fact
Yeah,
that I love that scene, but they really would have been a lot better if they just had no music over the gunfire. But they just felt like they had
yeah,
to put something like, oh, this is how you should be feeling, basically, like in case
Yeah.
in
yeah.
case
That's
you've got like
true.
an actual zombie in the seat, like with no, trying to figure out what to do.
That's true, but I still think it did its job, and it really upped the stakes of the film. It changed the dynamic because until that point, I don't think any blood had been spilt.
Yeah.
So, and I think in the general's head, his idea was like, yeah, we can do all this without killing anyone, but
Yeah, so
obviously,
I think they might actually just want to, compensate families for their loss of their loved ones, but apparently not.
yeah.
So
What do you think
it's a
about
hundred
the
million as well.
virus
Like the
itself? By the way, do you have any thoughts on that? Like the eating away at the skin and stuff. That was pretty gruesome. So that was something
yeah,
straight out of Saw, really.
I don't know. It was just like the excuse then to put the giant needle in your heart. Like
Yeah, yeah.
don't know how that works though.
No,
Surely,
I'm
like,
sure that's. I
I mean,
bet there
surely
must
just
be
kill.
No, no
there's
way that works.
there must be a doctor's response video somewhere on like
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, it
That's like,
has to
yeah,
be.
that would never happen.
By the way, this would kill you.
I
Wow.
don't know why. I don't. It's just again the Saw like fan in me, but at the end when Nick Cage he runs out with the green flares, right?
Yeah.
And he goes on his knees like in Platoon, like Willem Dafoe, and
Yeah.
it is quite a cool scene. But I wanted to see like the needle sticking out of his chest as well while he's doing that. I was like, yeah, just give me something, man. But they didn't go that far, to be fair. And what I did like is how because obviously it's like a typical sort of film trope, action film trope, where like, it's coming down to the last second and the last
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
But the
it's
guy
like
actually does drop a bomb,
yeah.
which I found quite
Normally
cool.
it would be he saves the day, but then Michael Bay's directing it, so you need at least one explosion.
True, true. But I think that was good because that would realistically that wasn't unbelievable. That was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that could easily happen. And
Except it doesn't
unfortunately,
kill
it just doesn't.
anyone.
Yeah, and it just doesn't kill anyone. I mean, it nearly does, but
He
I
hits
thought that
the
was a
island.
cool
What happened to all the
thing as well.
hostages in the side? Like they all get crushed by rubble and then
Huh.
just like covered it up.
Well, luckily, yeah. Well, luckily, it exploded on like an uninhabited part of the island. But
Yeah.
you know, I just think the premise is really good. It's just Alcatraz. You know, like why not? You can't. Alcatraz is such a cool like concept in the first place, right? I mean, there's a great film as well called Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. Also, very much worth watching if you're into that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, a couple other things was I wanted to comment upon the balaclava they gave Sean Connery. Did you notice
Yeah.
how bad that was?
Yeah, it was.
It looks like he made it himself. It's just
Yeah,
like, oh,
it
here's a bala.
literally does.
There's
He
no
just
eyes in
cuts
this.
your
Oh,
holes
just
in
cut them
pieces.
out. Okay.
It's like they're about to shoot the scene. They realize they forgot a prop behind at the studio, and they're like,
Yeah,
right,
literally.
just take this and like
Yeah,
cut
yeah.
a
They
couple
found like a
holes in it.
hipster outside and just stole
It's
it.
almost actually it kind of reminds me since you mentioned Breaking Bad earlier. You know when they have their
Yeah,
balaclavas.
yeah. Really.
It's almost like that. It's just silly, you know. It's like unprepared, you know. You'd have thought they would have some like cool military balaclava, but never mind.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm going to make this the thumbnail for the video. You don't have to do the thumbnail this week, Henry. I do want to shout out Henry for doing all the Bond thumbnails because I was doing all of. It's quite obvious I was doing all of them until Bond, and then Henry's taken up the mantle and he's doing a great job. So shout out Henry for that.
Thanks. I also
But
think
I'm
you did
gonna,
a great job.
yeah, I'm gonna be doing the thumbnail for this, and it's gonna be just a screen grab of when Sean Connery goes, "Bomb!" It's so funny, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to shout out that moment.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
go on.
I don't know. Is there anything else particular in this film that you want to talk
Yes,
about?
I want to
Yeah?
save the best till last. But do you two have any more comments?
No comment.
I th- I think the fact they showed the villain to be kind of vulnerable in a way was really unexpected for me, and
Mm.
like,
Well,
and
he's not really the
and
villain, but anyway.
yeah, yeah, the
Oh, he's the
quote-unquote
antagonist.
villain. Yeah, the antagonist.
What do
So
you call
like,
that? The US government's the antagonist in this film.
Well, the U.S. government is always the antagonist in any film and in real
Act-
life. So you know.
actually, in a literary, it actually doesn't matter if the person's good or not. If they're against the main character, they're the antagonist. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that was a really interesting twist actually, because yeah, I mean, I thought it'd just be a cliche, you know, like most Bond villains, it just goes down to final showdown, and you know. But I think the fact that he actually launches the missile, and he's so hesitant and reluctant to do it, but he actually basically succumbs to peer pressure from his like psychotic underlings,
Yeah, literally.
and then he just like sneakily he just like literally gets cold feet, and just reprograms it to like explode in the water. He bottles it. He literally
Yeah,
just
he's just
bottles
like
it.
killed like several million fish now, so
Yeah,
he's like they've done like worse than the BP oil spill.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I agree, Tom. I think that was like a really quite refreshing thing to actually like see happen.
it's very believable as well. Like you know that like the vast majority of people would be like, and rightly so. Like you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, kill him or something like that. They'd just be like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I really don't know about this, and then it's like,
I
so
can't believe I can't get over the fact Tuco was in this film. That's
Yeah.
insane. um, yeah. Anyway, well, my favorite bit, I think the best bit of this film is because it is so Blade Runner, man. Is when, and I actually also want to nominate this for the Sigma moment. Is when I think they've just disarmed the first missile, and Nick Cage has the chips, and you know the general goes, oh well, listen, you know, you need to return that chip or I'll execute this prisoner. Sean Connery
Yeah,
takes that out of his
yeah.
hand, smashes it on the ground, and then walks off into the steam and like the fog,
Yeah,
which
it's
is like and
what
it's all
about the
blue lit, like just typical like Blade Runner style. And then he walks through, he does this hero walk through the prison, and you know you've got all the prisoners reaching out through the bars, and it's so like on the nose, but it's so good. And Sean Connery deserves that. That's like you said, Tom, it is his send off as Bond, and it's just so like earned in this film. As well. It doesn't feel like cheap. It's just really perfect.
I think the actual moment is when he's like when like Nick Cage is just like, oh What about that guy with with his family of three, and then Sean just gives him the thumbs up and then walks off.
That's all you need to know, mate.
Just
Yeah.
literally, all you have to just write down is a thumbs up emoji for this on the rankings.
Yeah, literally. That is like, yeah, the boom of thumbs up.
It literally is.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are some really fun moments. I mean, Nick Cage, for whatever he lacks, he is amusing at times when he's
Not
he
intense.
gets shat on. It's like, oh, you don't need to know, so it's on a need to, you don't need to, and then he tries saying that to Sean Connery,
Yeah,
and then
Just
Sean Connery just
barks
barks
at
at him. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so funny, man. It's so good.
yeah. I love the bit as well where he's like he's got a pistol, so he's trying to tell Sean what to do, and then he's like, just safety's off and then takes the gun from him.
Yeah, and I love their dynamic. It's such a weird link up. Like, I don't know who came up with that idea to have these guys, but their chemistry is actually really fun. Like, Sean Connery's teasing him all the time, and then Nick Cage, he's a good guy. He does the right thing. When his daughter's there, and he's like, oh, this guy's working with us, so don't worry. And
Yeah,
also,
that was nice, to be fair.
and at the end when he goes, oh, he died. He was vaporized. Like, it's like, yeah, good for you, Nick Cage. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Just like,
Oh,
come
what was his
on.
name in the film? Goodspeed. What was his
Yeah,
first
he's
name?
something like that.
What was his first name? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
Let me check.
Did we even get to
Stanley.
what Sean's name is in this?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's Mr.
John
Mason.
John Mason, man.
Well, what's the significance of that?
That's just such a great name.
Oh, yeah, it's cool. Well, they couldn't outright call him James Bond, but
Yeah, I know it's
Just like, don't give him a character's name, just say Sean Connery.
That's what I thought. I thought it'd be cool if he was like an unnamed character, if he was like, if he just didn't have a name in the film, if he was just like,
because
if they
like,
just
oh, this
referred
guy
to him
has
as
no
like,
identity. They don't even have a name on him. Just like
exactly.
give him like a not like a non-name name, like I don't know.
Yeah,
Some
they just call
escapist.
him by like, the prisoner or something like, I don't know, like something like that would be really cool. But
Yeah,
John
we'll
Mason's
call
still
it,
a cool name.
it's you, Sean. You're the Rock.
Yeah, that's right. um, and I don't know. I mean, there was a little bit of like Indiana Jones, like fun sort of
Yeah.
mine carts for no reason. Like, why
Yeah.
would that be in like the gutters?
Yeah,
of-
exactly.
of,
What? It didn't know they're
Alcatraz?
like making the prisoners, mine for uranium down there, but all right.
Yeah, but it's fun, Nick Cage is in one of them, like basically bulletproof in there.
Yeah.
And Sean Connery's like dangling below, like I have
Sets the
absolutely,
guy on fire.
there is no explanation whatsoever from how he gets from that position. Oh, it's so cool when he sets the guy on fire. There's a lot of like really like gory moments as well, man. Like when he drops the guys on the
Yeah, the
ground.
expedition on top of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Just crushes him, man. And then
Yeah,
like
it's
the
like
leg
his
is still
legs
moving
Yeah, but
afterwards.
you liked that.
It was funny, like Nick Cage's reaction to that. It's like,
Yeah,
is that
it's funny because he's trying to like basically do more than defuse a bomb while this guy's twitching it down there, and he's just like, it's kind of throwing me off. Do you mind?
It's so over the
It's
top.
like,
But
what
it's
do you
so,
want me
like
to
it's
do?
so funny, man. Like,
Like,
I
what
don't
do you
know.
want me
It
to
just
do? Kill
it
him again?
works. It really works, man. But yeah, Nick Cage. I think this is only the second film I've seen him in, and the other film I watched him in was The Wicker Man, and it's like one of those films. The Wicker Man is just notorious for being one of the worst films of all time. I watched it. I was kind of like tricked into watching it because my mate was like, "Oh yeah, this is really funny, man," and it was just like just bad. I couldn't even enjoy it ironically, man. But you know, um, I think that's more or less all about I have to say about The Rock. So
Nothing's
yeah,
really
I
to
just
go,
again I
right?
just do want to shout out that scene when he's like walking through the prison and like
Yeah, it's
it's so
literally. I mean, for everyone else who isn't on YouTube, that's literally my background right now. So
yep. It's selected by me. I will add. But I don't know, it's just bathed in blue light, and I mean, the cinematography when Sean Connery's on screen
yeah,
is great. Like, they really made an effort to just kind of build the film around him, which is the only way that this could be watchable, basically.
yeah,
So that's good.
yeah.
I want to play a game.
All right, so what was the budget according to this film? For this film, according to IMDb.
Oh
This
man,
must have
this
had a
is not
healthy
insane.
budget, man. I'm gonna go 80 million. I'm gonna go big because it's Michael Bay, man. He just
Yeah,
does
that
it. He
is
just
true.
gets
8
like
million.
obscene amounts of money for some reason.
Yeah, I'm gonna go higher on this one. 100 million.
Okay.
Final answer's 80
Yeah,
and
they paid
100
Sean
million.
like 500, like 50.
Yeah. Sean Connery was having a payday, man. He was having a great time. It reminded me. I mean, this is better than that, but it
Like
reminded me of
diamonds are
Arnie.
forever.
It reminded me of Arnie in
Yeah. Batman.
as Mr. Freeze. It's just he's having a good time.
Can't believe that actually happened. Anyway, so who
Be that
writes
as
up?
it may, James is actually closer. So the budget was 75 million. So
Oh, nice. I kind
pretty
of
Nice.
close.
that was tactical. I went for like a really high one, like tricking Henry into going into an even higher one than me, and I knew like I was gonna guess 60.
It's Michael
but
Bay.
when
It's
60,
Michael Bay though. It would not have surprised me, and with the amount of actors they got for this, like,
exactly.
yeah.
Like they threw a lot of money at this, and it wasn't wasted either, in my opinion. So okay.
And the box office?
I could not guess
I have
at
no
all.
idea, man.
Um,
It depends how good the
220.
marketing campaign was, really. I'm gonna go for like a 300 million.
I'm gonna go 220 million.
Final answers.
Yep.
Yes.
James is closer. So it was actually 335 million, $62,621 worldwide
How many
gross.
cents?
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not
Wow,
sure.
what great
Wow.
guess, man. There you go, man.
You're
I
good
did
with
not think
you're
it would
good
be
with
that
these
successful.
with these budget and
I've
box
never heard
office
of it.
guesses.
It's because I'm like scarred by Blade Runner, like both films flopping. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I do pay. I get like, I'm like an Englishman abroad. When you go on, when English people go on holiday and they like, oh, look at the weather, how good it is. I'm gonna like screenshot it and put it on my, Instagram or Twitter. So like, I can make people back home feel jealous. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's that same almost like bitterness from me where I'm like, let me just see. Did this film flop? And I'm happy if it did, and if it didn't, I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So, how old was Sean Connery when this film was made? Or in the film, rather.
I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go 63.
Yeah, I was gonna guess something in that area. I'm gonna go. When was he born? He was born in like the early 30s, right? So I'm gonna go 65. Or
Final
64.
answers
64 is my final answer. Yeah.
64 and 63. All right.
Yeah.
He is actually 65 in this film. So, James was dead on with his
It's so
initial answer.
close.
Yeah.
So, it's 3-0 currently. So,
Re-
for what it's
I'm gonna be
worth.
real sad if I miss on the rock.
Yeah. So,
Listen, I'm using these little ones, never say never again as well. I'm using these to like build up the site.
This has zero effect on me. I don't know if you noticed, but
No, well, no, it hasn't. I
because
think
this
for
is
GoldenEye, no, this is important. This is like it's the marginal gains.
the marginal gains on
remember,
absolutely nothing.
remember Henry, when it was me versus Tom right at the beginning of this series, and Tom like destroyed me 4-0, and then I won Casino Royale, and then it completely changed, and then I also won Never Say Never Again against you, and then
James, have you noticed you've been destroying me in the first few as well? I don't know if you noticed that sort of pattern emerging.
yeah, GoldenEye, mate, one GoldenEye, didn't I?
Exactly. And then what happened in the end?
I won. So
Exactly. You're
yeah.
now it's your turn to be destroying at the start and then be destroyed.
James hasn't.
Yeah, we'll see, mate. We'll see. I don't write off the. This is worth anyway. I haven't won yet, so yeah. Go on, Tom. What's the question?
I just want to say, I think I personally have a little hunch that Henry found out Michael Bay was directing this film and just decided to have an agenda against it.
Yeah, he
They
just
decided to
dismissed
not
it
pay
straight
attention.
away, man. As soon as he heard
Yeah,
that.
but for real though, the first like 25 half an hour of this just made me want to like hang myself. Like,
Come on, it wasn't. It was worth it for the setup,
it was
right?
terrible.
Yeah, but they
Man.
had to set up the film. They just had to get that out of the way. So
It was unforgivably
it
bad,
was
man.
worth it, though,
Like,
right?
barely. They could
Barely.
have chopped. They could have chopped that all off. Just start with Sean in the fucking prison
You
room.
could.
and
I
then
mean, I don't know if I'll ever rewatch this film. I think I will. You know, in
exactly. Like
I
in
think I
10
will.
years, I'll
meant to
I'll
say
rewatch it,
that.
but I'll just skip the first half hour. I don't need that. You know.
Exactly. Like
It'd be
anyway,
better
go on.
if Timothy Dalton was in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is good because, as well, you know Sean Connery's in this film, and it's good to have a little bit of build up. If he was in like the first scene, then it wouldn't be the same, right? You need to have like a bit of a reveal, you know, like you need a bit of build up. So,
Yeah.
I don't hold it against the film for like
Yeah,
having a terrible.
it's like it's not really build up. It's like they're digging you a grave, and then you actually get to get let out of it. You know.
Yeah, Sean Connery pulls you out. He throws you a rope, man.
Exactly.
Um,
It's not building up. It's just like he's just saves the film from like drowning.
Anyway, stop ruining my
how
momentum.
old? How
Yeah.
old was Barbara Hummel when she died?
Who?
Barbara
Who does she
Hummel,
play in this?
the wife of the villain, whose gravestone you see in the very, very beginning, and you see.
Oh, what? Are you saying according to the gravestone?
Yep.
Wow, man.
Lots of
What an out there question.
must be
I
paying
don't have a
attention.
clue, man. 45? I don't know. Yeah,
I'm gonna
45.
go 42. Actually, no, I'll go with 50.
Wait, so what? Give your final answers, please.
45.
And 50, 50, did you say, Henry?
Yeah.
You're actually both very, very close, and Henry's actually
Oh,
close. So James was closer with Henry's like initial answer, but
Yeah,
like
I thought about it and I was like, hang on a minute.
so she's actually 48 years old, according to
ah,
very,
It's like
very
with
close.
Sean's age, man.
Yeah.
okay.
So you thought that was an out there question, but try this one for size. The crate marked as aid to Bosnia and that they're investigating in the beginning
Oh yeah.
also has written Sloboda ili smrt on it, which means freedom or death in Serbian.
Yeah.
This was the slogan of which group in World War II?
Chetniks.
Yeah, Henry got that.
Okay. I don't mind
thought-
losing that one. Nice. Good pronunciation, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, another history question in line with the villain. This time. Well, actually, this is a bit more fair to James because it's a number one. The Tet Offensive is referenced in this film.
1978.
Let me finish. Which was part of the Vietnam War. Which year was referenced, though, as it taking place?
1978.
Go on.
Is that correct, or is it worth me guessing?
It's worth you guessing.
Oh,
You should
damn.
have a bit more confidence.
I should have. I've seen too many Vietnam War films. I mean, more than enough Vietnam War films to like not get this right. So I'm going to say 1974.
Oh, it's really tough for me actually. I'm trying to think.
Final answers. Nice.
It's embarrassing. I don't know exactly when the Vietnam War happened, but I'm going to go with 74.
It's quite a long war.
That helps.
Yeah, I'll stay with 78.
And James is 74. James is actually
Was
closer.
it 68 then?
Yeah, 68.
I was thinking, is it 78 or 68? But
Ah, too bad, mate.
so bad.
For what it's worth,
What's the
James
final
has
one,
taken
Tom?
it so far. You'll like the. I hope you'll like this. The final one a bit better. Right. So it says Mr. Mason escaped the Rock twice during two different years. However, these 2 years mentioned coincide with two specific Bond film releases as well.
Dr. No
okay,
and From Russia with Love.
Russia with Love.
I think you said that a bit quicker. So
I'm blaming that one on EE, man.
No, you can't. No, I definitely.
can.
I was clear, man.
Anyway, it does, we both knew that for sure anyway. So
I'm
Yeah,
glad
true.
you both got it. I was thinking like how I was gonna narrow it down. Like,
No,
oh,
great
it was
questions.
Sean
Great
Connery's film.
questions.
good questions.
So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
ends like 5-2 to James. So
Nice.
for what it's
Good.
worth, that is license.
Well, it's worth nothing to Henry, but for me,
It
it's
is worth nothing to me.
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
Good. And now we're going to rank a couple of elements within the film at least.
Yeah.
So let me just get up the Google Doc, which we're now doing this in. Well, Sean Connery's first as the Bond actor anyway, so we don't really need to worry about that.
Yeah. Where do we rank John Mason in the
John Mason, mate, he's already number one, so that's fine. I think it's worth ranking the villain. So, number one, Max Zorin. Number two, Donald Pleasance Blofeld. Number three, Goldfinger. Number four, Telly Savalas Blofeld. Number five, 006. Number six, Fran Sanchez. Number seven, Hugo Drax. Number eight, Scaramanga. Number nine, Kamal Khan and Orlov. Number 10, Kananga. Number 11, Dr. No. Number 12, Rosa Klebb. Number 13, Largo. Number 14, Stromberg. Number 15, Koskov and Whitaker. Number 16, Christatos. Number 17, Blofeld in Never Say Never Again. And seven. I've lost it now. But bottom is obviously Blofeld, Charles Gray. So that's what's important.
It's just a jump to the left.
With your hands
So
on
yeah, where are we going to put? Let's just get his name, General.
so it's-
They say the name like 50 times in the film. I don't know how I'm not remembering it.
General.
General Francis something. I can't see because
Francis
IMDb's not fully
Francis,
displaying
man.
his name. Wait, let me just get it. 1 second. General Francis Hummel. There we go. General Hummel. Where are we putting
Right.
General Hummel?
I think the thing is, I think it's a bit unfair to like rank him because he's like more of an empathetic villain in a way, and you're not supposed to feel that for Bond villains so much.
Yeah.
So like, Bond villains are just there, like yeah, get him sort of thing. But like, this guy's like pretty different, I think. But if we were ranking him compared to all the other Bond villains, I think he goes just above Stromberg.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Well,
Because
so but that's below Largo. So
Largo's iconic, like. I
he's,
Yeah, I
think
suppose he
he's
does have an eye.
iconic because he got parodied in Austin Powers. That's about it. You know?
not really like I've
He's got an
never
eye
even
patch, you
seen
know what I
He's
mean?
got an eye patch. That's literally it.
But
That
that's
ends
the
up
thing.
being like,
That's like having a
Correct.
degree, man. No one can ever take that away from you. So, you know. Well, do you agree, Henry? We put that would make General Hummel 14th on our list.
I'll put him above Largo, honestly. Yeah, at least this guy is interesting.
Nah, no, like he's a character.
Nah, but the
more
eye patch, man, the eye
than-
patch.
Yeah, but he has
Yeah,
a cool.
I
has
am
a
tempted
cool
to agree with
accent.
Henry. Actually, I just think he's more of a compelling just character in general.
I
Than
honestly, and
You'd
the fact you
you'd
had that whole thing
much.
was like, is Largo being like an incest nonce here, like
Yeah,
with
but
yeah, there's that as well.
Uncle, it's obviously he's not because it's just like
it
God.
wasn't obvious, man. We had a whole discussion about it.
Yeah, but we laid it out that she says guardian and like why would you kill his own relative? So like what was I trying to
Oh.
say? Yeah, you'd much rather be held at gunpoint by this guy than Largo, wouldn't you? Like, I think that explains who's the better.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it would
it's
be
not
hard
because
to
he's a
influence
better
that
villain.
further.
He's just a more interesting character. That's all. He's just got a bit more depth and dimension.
Well, have like an interesting character list then. This is the villain list. I think we're like straying a bit far from
Yeah, but
that.
the villain, the point is like the villain, even more so than Bonds in a lot of films, has to be basically the most interesting part. You know.
Yeah,
Mm,
and plus
really,
we're getting to the era of Bond where like the villains they kind of wake up. Okay, we can't just make them two dimensional. We have to kind of make them a little bit sympathetic. So I mean, like for example, 006 or Silver, you know, in the films come. So you know,
Blofeld.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like Blofeld anymore. It's just okay, this guy's the villain. He's the bad guy. He has no like redeeming features. He's just evil. You know, I think General Hummel. I mean, we're really splitting hairs here, but I'm just going to leave the 13th here above Largo and below Rosa Klebb. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's actually
whatever.
pretty fair.
Then we'll just skip ahead to the Sigma moment.
Not the theme song.
No. Should we go with that when he like crushes the thing under his foot? You know, like I think that is a Sigma, and
I
then
think no,
the
it's
war,
just the
like the
thumbs up,
Don
man.
walk
That's
afterwards. I
like,
think that's worth like, unless you have a better idea.
I think specifically just the thumbs up bit. I love that. It's just like, oh, this guy's like gonna get shot in the head, man. You know, he's got a family. Don't care.
Yeah.
What?
Are we in agreement? Tom, you agree with this? So for that we're nominating that one.
I can't think of anything better. So
Yeah, it's not like Nick Cage is a Sigma
Or
mouse.
what about
Yeah.
would you like to know who really killed JFK? There's like a Sigma thing.
Yeah, you're really like gonna give Nicolas Cage a Sigma line here.
Yeah, in the film with Sean Connery, like John Mason, man.
All
Um,
right, fine.
Okay, well, number 1 we have Goldfinger, I Own the Club. Number 2, Max Zorin. Number 3, Backgammon. Number 4, You Missed Mr. Bond. Did I? Number 5, Red Grant. Number 6, Blofeld's Extortion. Number 7, Doctor No. Number 8, Timothy Dalton. Number 9, James, I Need You. So does England. Number 10, Launder It. Number 11, Natalia versus the Computer Salesman. Number 12, Tracy being Countess. Number 13, Scaramanga. Number 14, Eric. Number 15, Blofeld Prepare My Battle Submarine. Number 16, David Niven. Number 17, Names of Tombstones Baby. Number 18, King and Country. Number 9, Q. Never Say Never Again. So where are we going to put this moment? I think this goes quite high up, actually. Maybe above
Yeah.
Blofeld Extortion.
Hmm.
I feel like it's very much the dotted line in this list.
It's not
Yeah,
really.
definitely.
It's not. No, I think I think the extortion scene is pretty good, and Doctor No as a character. I think it goes below Doctor No because this isn't really a line.
Below
It's
Doctor
more,
No.
yeah, because this isn't really a
Yeah,
line.
but
It's
in
just
fairness, think
it's
about
a
this as a
moment.
reaction to like what he's been like asked. He just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, but he just does a thumbs up. Like
But it's
the
not just that. I
the
think it's
others.
more. It's the whole scene of like where
Yeah, he does a thumbs
he
up, walks
crushes
into
the
the
chip
smoke.
under his foot, right? Just like straight away, like bullies Nick Cage into like being a hero, and also giving the finger to Hummel. Also not caring that about. Well, he does care a little bit, but it's like just very dismissive of the hostage. Like he basically calls the general's bluff. Because he did say earlier, he's like, "Oh, I looked in his eyes. He's not a killer," which turned out to be true actually, which is interesting. And then just like the walk off, like walking into the steam and fog and through the prison, it's just Sigma as fuck, man.
Yeah, it's like
But
with
yeah,
Zoran's line means a lot more than just what he says.
that's it exactly. So I think it goes. Yeah, it goes somewhere in that area. I mean, 5th is Red Grant. Number 6 is Blofeld Extortion. Number 7 is Doctor No. So I mean, let's. What do we think? Tom says below Doctor No. I reckon
$1 million,
above.
Mr. Bond.
Yeah, that
Depends,
is
Mr.
that is
Bond.
pretty soon, to be fair.
Which
And
side of
and
the glass you are?
I would actually agree with Tom in this case to put below Doctor No because like Doctor
Okay.
No literally is like archetypal Sigma in terms of like doesn't even he has no women in like a 100-mile radius of his place.
I
True.
agree. This is no place
Okay.
for the
And I'm just going to
girl.
put the thumbs up emoji as the representation for that. So, okay, John Mason's going in at number 8. And the film itself, number 1, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Number 2, Goldfinger. Number 3, Octopussy. Number 4, License to Kill. Number 5, Moonraker. Number 6, The Living Daylights. Number 7, The Spy Loved Me. Number 8, You Only Live Twice. Number 9, Goldeneye. Number 10, A View to a Kill. Number 11, The Man with the Golden Gun. Henry, you've definitely fucked with this list, haven't you?
That
Live and Let Die. 11th, 12th, Doctor No. 13th, From Russia with Love. 14th, Thunderball. 15th, Never Say Never Again. 16th, For Your Eyes Only. 17th, Diamonds Are Forever. 18th, Casino Royale. Where are we going to
man,
put
if I'd fuck with that
The
list,
Rock?
I'd have put Russia with Love up. I'll
I
put
just
us
don't know why
below Live and Let
GoldenEye's
Die.
so low, but never mind. Yeah, where are we putting The Rock then? I reckon this goes probably above Thunderball.
I think so as well. By the way, I've just got to go
Yeah.
quickly.
Okay, so
All right.
above Thunderball. Well, we're wrapping up anyway. So just going
Yeah.
above Thunderball, below From Russia with Love, and there's a big dotted line there. We can just for
Yeah.
Henry's sake, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that then. So that means I think 15th. I need to neaten this list up, but The Rock is going above Thunderball and below From Russia with Love. And that's it. That's our episode for today. So obviously a shorter one, but short and sweet. So yeah, any parting thoughts from you chaps? Well, I mean, what do you think? I mean, just summarize The Rock for me. I mean, it was your first time watching it, so
I think it
I
was
don't know,
good.
man. This film was on like life support with Sean Connery, like
I don't think
donating blood to it.
necessarily life support. It's not like this is Diamonds Are Forever, which is only like held up by his. I think
My friend wasn't saved by Sean, man.
they had
Exactly.
well, he had good dialogue and stuff. I think like this had good action, in my opinion. There are some like moments, but like I think
Yeah.
it was all right.
Oh, I just realized this is the first Sean Connery film review where he doesn't slap a woman.
Yeah, might as well be. And I just love his like his use of swearing is so good. It's something I've just never really obviously because we know Sean Connery from obviously Bond and Indiana Jones and he won an Oscar for his role in The Untouchables. So he's a very seasoned actor, but I've just never seen him kind of really just get to have a bit of fun on the set. He's really, you can
Uses
tell
what
he's really
vocabulary
enjoying this,
possible.
man. Like he was really, I bet everyone on the set was like in awe of him, like respecting him and stuff. Like this really was like, his sort of homecoming in a weird way. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, Henry, I just want to make peace with your views on this film. Where would you put it? Do you remember roughly our Batman ranking? What sort of film would you compare it to in that?
I would compare this to The Suicide Squad. Actually, it's like
Yeah, okay,
it's
all right, I
like
could live with that.
it's like a couple of good things surrounded by like a sea of like tripe.
All right, I can live with that.
I mean, that's
So
actually
on
quite
that
literally
note,
what Alcatraz is.
surrounded
So
by a sea of tripe, I think that's a good note to end the episode on. So thanks for joining us. We'll be back. There's no more sort of jokey spin-off Bond films. This is
well,
like
unless you
the
count
last of our
Spectre.
this is the last of our three-part series on them. So it's a home stretch now for the Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig era. So join us next week for Tomorrow Never Dies. Same bat time, same bat channel. Sneezing is great, man. I mean, obviously it's kind of common knowledge, but you get an eighth of an orgasm when you sneeze,
No, I
right?
didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that either, actually.